I work on a project called Journalism AI at the London School of Economics and Political Science. Our project is funded by the Google News Initiative, and our mission, the tagline, is that we empower journalists and news organizations to use AI responsibly. Of course, in this presentation, I'm going to go into detail of what we mean with that. What I also want to tell you is that I have no background whatsoever in AI or computer science. Everything I'm going to share with you, I learned it over these 4 years working on the project. So I promised very little to non-technical, complicated words, because I don't understand them myself sometimes. And also, just to say that if you are interested in this topic, everything I'm going to share with you, everything I learned, you can learn it too. Regardless of your background, you don't need a degree in data science to be in this field. So, starting with the 10 things I want to share with you, and I went too fast, there you go. The number one, and probably the most important one, is that very likely AI is not what you think. This is because artificial intelligence is a field that suffers from science fiction creating all these images of robots and the machines taking over, fighting with us, like in Matrix, and that's as far as reality as it can get, so it's very confusing. And the reason is that artificial intelligence is really what we're talking about is, to give it a definition, is a collection of ideas, technologies, and techniques, I'm going to go slow, that refer to a computer system capacity to perform tasks that normally require human intelligence. It's a mouthful, I know, maybe I should have put it in writing, that would have helped more. But this is to say that really AI is a complex field to understand, first of all, because of all of these misconceptions. And what I try to consider, and also what I try to encourage you, is every time you hear about AI, you read AI, or if you're a reporter covering the topic, every time you write AI, try to think if there's something else that you can write instead of those two letters. Maybe you're describing an algorithm or a specific computer program, or you're talking about automation in general. Like, being more specific helps you understand this topic better, and if you're writing about it, will help your readers as well. The problem with this field is that it's not even just a matter of language, it's also a matter of images. AI has a huge image issue, because if you type artificial intelligence in your search engine, you get something like this. You get these like humanoid robots, you get brains with something happening to them, and sometimes like exploding ones and zeros. Oh, the unmissable outstretched hands of a robot touching your finger as the creation. And this is pointless. This is not artificial intelligence. AI nowadays is much closer to a spreadsheet than to these things. So this is problematic and doesn't help us either. So for this reason, my whole presentation and my 10 points are illustrated with images from a project called Better Images of AI, which is a non-profit initiative that is creating a public repository, the link is down there, that you can use, of images that are better to represent this topic, that really help us go beyond those misconceptions. Point number 2, that's all you want to hear. AI is not stealing your job. And I'm going to repeat it, or if you want, repeat it with me. AI is not stealing my job. Not anytime soon. The trick is that artificial intelligence is not that intelligent nowadays. We're still talking about computer programs that can do one thing extremely well, sometimes better than us, but that's it. So it's still us, the humans, who decide what those tasks that are automated is, and it's not a coincidence that mostly, in journalism at least, they are the very boring, repetitive tasks that we don't like to do anyways. We're talking about transcribing interviews or sifting through hundreds of PDFs of leaked documents to look for similar entities, or writing the same article about the company earning reports every quarter when there are new numbers out of the stock market. None of us went into journalism to do those things again and again, let's be honest. So for this reason, I really want to tell you that it's on us. It's us, the humans. There is no AI stealing something from us, because we decide what we automate. We decide what to use the technology for. If it's not us in the room, it's someone else that looks like us, certainly not like a robot. So it's really important that we keep this in mind, and that we try really to understand that this is not something we should worry about, at least for now. The thing is that, let me add, there is an important distinction that is not talked about enough, which is the difference between artificial narrow intelligence and artificial general intelligence. These are two polar opposites. Everything we're talking about and that exists nowadays, in journalism and not, is narrow. So as I said, computer programs doing one thing, one task extremely well. Sometimes better, faster than us. Artificial general intelligence is the robots, is the movies, is the idea that one day we may be able to make machines think and act like humans. For someone is a hope, for someone is like, please don't never make that happen. Some research centers are throwing millions of dollars at that to try to see if it's possible, but nowadays we don't even know if we will ever exist, so it's not really something you should worry about for now and for the foreseeable future, at the very least. Point 3, you may not need AI at all. The work of our team, my work and the work of Journalism AI, is not to tell journalists that you should use AI. Our job is to ask you what problem you're trying to solve. What are you trying to achieve? And then we can work together to reflect on if AI can be part of the solution. Because honestly, more often than not, it's not. You can find and get where you need to be with simpler tools that maybe are not as costly or hard to implement. So you need to be skeptical about this. So my plea to you is do not get into this field for FOMO, for fear of missing out. Don't give in to all the headlines telling you that AI will revolutionize journalism or save it from I don't even know what, to be honest. Be skeptical and really start from your use case, and we take it from there. I'm too fast with this, I'm sorry. Point 4, you need a strategy. So let's assume you have done your homeworks, you have studied your use case, you have really figured out what AI can and cannot do nowadays, and you're pretty convinced that AI can be part of the solution you're looking for. Fair, that's great, good. So I have a job and I can help you with that. But at this point, it's not time to celebrate yet because the hard part starts there. Implementation of AI can be very hard. Let's be realistic about that. And this is because we talk about AI and implementation as if it was one single linear process, like a recipe book that tells you how to cook pasta or pizza. I'm Italian, just in case it wasn't clear. So instead, that implementation process will look very different depending on what is your use case, very different from the person sitting next to you that is maybe trying to do something different. Just using some examples, if you want to use a machine learning model to filter the comments that you receive from your users to automatically tag those that are potentially harmful, the implementation process you have to go through is completely different from the one maybe I need to work on because I want to optimize my paywall with machine learning to maximize the chances that sporadic readers become paying subscribers of my publication. So you need to be strategic, you need to focus on your specific use case, and you need to consider the strengths and weaknesses of your organization already. Point 5, tools. So pretty obvious, but using AI actually means using some kind of technical tool in journalism. So where do you get those tools? Usually, the dichotomy, let's say, it's about you buy or you build these tools. And I'm here to tell you that there's not one way that is better than the other. Famously, two international news agencies that are at the forefront of AI innovation goes two different ways. Reuters tends to build most of its tools in-house, while the Associated Press tends to work with external suppliers, buy their tools, and then optimize them to their needs. So you have to figure out, once again, what could work better for you, taking into account the costs and the hidden costs as well, because obviously it sounds like buying is more expensive because I need to give money to someone. But if you want to build, there are hidden costs to building a team and hire the right people, and we'll get back to that point to build those tools. So the good news that I want to share with you is that there is optimism on both sides, meaning that if you decide that building is your way to implementing AI, there are others in this industry that probably have already done it, or have already tried and learned that it's not possible, or maybe are trying right now, and you can collaborate with them. And collaboration is a point I'll get back to. So talk to these people. We have my project online as a library of more than 100 case studies describing this organization has tried to use AI to do that, sometimes with success, sometimes not. At the same time, if you go for the buying option, the good news is that there are so many tools already available out there, so they're not that hard to find, and sometimes, not always, they may even not be as expensive as you think. So some optimism that I wanted to give you here before I actually finish this sentence and tell you that buy or build is just a false decision. There are not just these two options. A third way you should really consider is to partner. Partner with startups, partner with academic institutions and academic labs that maybe have all the theoretical framework already in place for what you need. Maybe they also have a prototype already built, and they're dying to work with someone like you to test what they have from a practical use case. My friends at La Nación Data that are sitting here in front of me are amazing at this, at working with universities in many ways. So you can do it and you can learn from them. Point 6, unicorns exist. This is not a typo, I mean it, unicorns exist, and I'm talking about the people you need and the skills you need to work with AI in your newsroom. Now, I'm gonna make 2 sub-points under this one. The first one is that, yes, they exist, but it's extremely hard to get them. Let's be realistic about it. This is because it's hard for journalism that at the end of the day, let's face it, we are such a small industry to attract people that can go and make more money somewhere else, because famously, we don't have bags of money to throw at these engineers and computer scientists, right? So it's hard to get them to work with us. Again, I'm a positive person, as you may have noticed, so I want to give you a ray of light into this, because I think we have something that other industries do not have, which is that we are a mission-driven business, a mission-driven industry. We don't work only for profit. We work for the betterment of society, to inform society, and that's what you should leverage. That's your marketing plan. There are many people out there that care about this, that want a job with a purpose. So probably everyone in this room knows someone that currently works in journalism and has the skills to make a lot more money somewhere else. And yet they're working with us right now, because they care. They understand the importance of journalism. So those are the people that you should target and the message that you should try to give. I also want to tell you, in terms of like this talent point, that you can be part of this too. As I tell you at the beginning, right, I have no background in this. I'm not an engineer, and I made my way into this topic. And nowadays, there are so many opportunities out there to train yourself. There are so many courses, most of them free, some of them more technical, some of them more strategic. If you care about this topic, you can build your own skills and your own knowledge about the topic so that you can get a seat at the table and participate into those AI projects when they happen in your newsroom. Because the secret that I noticed a lot in the projects we have been working and collaborating with over the past few years is that the best AI projects happen when they're done by interdisciplinary teams, those that Anita was describing before in her talk. So yes, we need the engineers, yes, we need the data scientists, but we need editorial people and we need product people to work on this AI project from the start. So that can be any of you. 7, as I mentioned before, collaboration in this field is essential. I am happy to have in the room many people from different brands that are actually working on our collaborative projects right now or in the past few years. And the thing is that, as we have seen, there are so many obstacles to implementing AI, from money to skills and everything. So it just makes sense to share the burden with someone else. As I said, there is someone else out there that is facing your same problem and trying to figure it out if AI is part of the solution. Work with them. Find them. Come to organizations like us, that this is our mission, to create these connections. We joke with my team that we are pretty much a matchmaking agency sometimes between people and newsrooms that could work together. Collaboration is your best asset, because you can go alone, but unless you are the New York Times or the BBC, it's hard really to imagine that you have the resources to get to where you need by yourself. So trust the collaboration opportunity. And really, if you're not doing it already, you can do it with your direct competitor here in town, or maybe there is someone on the other side of the planet that wants to work with you. And virtually today, it's so easy to make it happen, to collaborate. So if you want to know more about this specific point, shameless plug, workshop this afternoon at 3 p.m., as everyone has said. You're going to hear directly from 3 projects that happen and are currently happening in our collaborative initiatives, and you can hear directly from the participants and our fellows how they're working on this and what they're learning about collaboration and why they want to take part in this. Point 8 is that you need a space to experiment. I'm saying this because progress in AI is fast. Like, it's much faster than you think nowadays. So it's incredibly hard to expect that you hear my talk now, you go home, do your homework, build your team, and you're going to build an AI project next week. It's not going to be this easy. So you need to be strategic, as we said before. You need to figure out your strengths and weaknesses and what is actually possible for your organization. And you need to give this AI team that you want to build a safe space where, at least for a bit, at least at the beginning, they can just learn, try to follow the trends, maybe collaborate with someone else, and learn, and figure it out what is possible for them. The first thing that they will try to build, likely it's going to fail, or it's not going to lead you somewhere. But I can tell you that what they learn during that process of building and maybe failing will become extremely useful in the following tries. So, point 9, I'm diverging a bit. So far, we have talked about using AI to build things, but most of you are journalists. We are journalists in this room, and I'm telling you that it's equally important for us reporting on this topic. AI is more and more present in our society, and often, unfortunately, is not used in a responsible way, with disastrous consequences for human beings that are affected by these algorithms not being used responsibly. So the world needs us, the world needs you to hold AI and the people behind these systems accountable for what they do. And the point I'm trying to make here is that the best way to do that, you're going to be better equipped at doing that if you also know how AI works in practice and you have a little bit of experience of building things yourself. Some of the best teams that I've been working with over the past few years, from the AI and automation lab of Bavarian Radio in Germany to the markup in the US, they are incredibly smart because they have built one single team that does both things at the same time: product development and algorithmic accountability reporting. And this is important because doing one thing makes you better at the other and the other way around. We got to the end. It feels faster than I thought, to me. I hope to you too. And I just want to leave you with a positive spin to all of this, which I believe in, is not just to be nice, that AI truly offers a transformational opportunity to journalism. And I'm not saying this referring to the automation of the boring tasks. Those are important, they make our work more efficient, fantastic. But I'm telling you that what I've seen over the last 4 years working on this project is journalists being incredibly creative in using AI or learning from trying to use AI, how we can improve what we do and how we do it. From projects that you can hear more about in the workshop this afternoon, that looks at how we can use AI to understand, identify, and mitigate the biases that we have in our own newsrooms, so we can make our coverage more inclusive, to a project currently ongoing in our fellowship that is trying to understand and using natural language processing tools, part of the AI family, to really understand what a publication covers, what topics are most covered, and as a result, what are the underreported topics that we're not covering enough, and therefore, what are the audiences that don't feel represented by our coverage, and therefore, we're not even trying to reach right now, to even going as far of thinking of completely changing the formats of how we deliver journalism. There is a trend around modular journalism that really thinks if the article in 2022 is the best way to deliver information, can we use AI to atomize this information and make it more relevant for specific users and the way they need it with personalized information? So my parting words for you, this transformational opportunity, is really that I encourage you to be balanced when you approach this topic. So be skeptical, it's extremely important. As I said, don't give in to all the headlines telling you that the AI is the best thing happened to humanity, and if you try to use it, be aware of the risks and the bias issues and the limitations. But while you do all of that, allow yourself to get excited, because we truly have an opportunity here, and it's important that we don't just give in to the dark side. So I want to tell you, I guess what I'm trying to tell you is that we have a choice here that we can all make together. We can just choose to step back and let artificial intelligence impact journalism in ways that we don't control, or we can decide to embrace it, use it in a responsible way, and use it to make the positive impact that we want our journalists to make. Thank you.